As Asian Americans, we must stand firmly with the Black community and support them in their struggle for change. The anti-Asian racism our community has experienced during this pandemic has the same roots as the racism that the Black community has always faced since the founding of this country.
We must continue to speak out against racism, but we can't fight against racism directed towards our community while standing complicit in a system that disproportionately discriminates, devalues, criminalizes, and brutalizes our Black friends and neighbors.
我们需要发声，不光为我们自己，也要为非裔社区发声，拿出我们的勇气和知识，为社会公正做贡献。
We cannot, even as fellow persons of color, claim to understand the deeply rooted racism and injustice that has plagued the Black community. What we can do is use our voices and the personal experiences we have to increase awareness, foster learning, and challenge the systemic racism we see.
Asian Americans was joined in solidarity with Black Americans and others, combating racism and demanding changes aimed at addressing persistent discrimination.
所以我哋要為爭取非裔平等嘅待遇嚟出力，同我哋黑人兄弟姊妹一齊嚟團結，嚟反抗種族歧視。
Với người anh chị em da đen, giúp họ vượt qua những khó khăn mà cộng đồng của họ.
Let's not be complacent and speak up. This isn't enough. It won't be enough until we see true racial justice.
This isn't the time for silence or denial. People are dying. Black people are dying in the hands of the police. We must stand up for people who are hurting and mourning the murder of their loved ones.
We gotta show up. We gotta show up to the rallies. We gotta show up consistently, and we gotta show up especially when it's not about us. Right now, it's about the Black community.
Some of the ways we can show solidarity and support for Black community if we cannot join the protest is to speak out against anti-Blackness.
Donate to organizations committed to justice and anti-racist policies. Call our local leaders. Educate yourself and the next generation to undo internalized racism.
We can support Black businesses. We can support our colleagues, our friends, in helping to educate people.
As Asian Americans, when we see something that we think is wrong and unjust, and especially with our Black brothers and sisters, we need to say something, right? We have to step in. So if something's happening to one of our friends, one of our colleagues, that we don't stay silent and just watch it happen. You know, we step up, we say something, and we support and defend our Black brothers and sisters.
We must also look and listen to the guidance of Black Americans in this moment and do advocacy actions that they are calling for. And then we got to come back again next week and next month and the month after that and ask again, what can I do now to help?
The work, the burden, the risks, the sacrifices, and the emotional toll of showing up and speaking out and fighting back, that can't just be on our Black brothers and sisters alone. Asian Americans need to speak out, especially within our own community and other spaces where our Black sisters and brothers are not there to speak for themselves.
Conversation in our homes and in our communities can prevent sustained racism and dismantle anti-Black sentiment.
We need to teach our children about the history and the current state of racism and ways to join the fight.
It begins with unpacking the model minority myth, specifically by its roots. It was created to pit the Asian American community against the Black and Brown community. We need to recognize our privilege, and these conversations start with us.
We need to be vulnerable, engage people in difficult conversations, and confront our complicated histories. This work is deeply challenging, and yet it is so critically important.
We believe an important process of dismantling anti-Blackness is creating a safe space for the Asian American community to come together to reflect, ask questions, and discuss racism. We've got to remember that not everybody has the same shared understanding of racism in the United States.
We have to really show up and be committed to making sure that white supremacy culture and anti-Blackness is dismantled in our institutions, in our communities.
Người Việt Nam mình cùng nhau sẽ học và nói chuyện để phá bỏ tư tưởng mà chống lại người da đen và đừng kỳ thị người da đen.
We call out racism when we see it explicitly, or more insidiously, when it happens implicitly. Most important, we take care of each other, we support each other, and we stand together.
As an Asian American, as a Muslim American, as a kid of immigrants, I commit, I believe, I will support, I will amplify the Black Lives Matter movement.
As a mother and a new grandmother, a Khmer woman, an Asian American, I stand in solidarity with our Black community. What we do today will vibrate for decades to come. I want my children and my grandchildren to live in a world where everyone is treated equally at Black Lives Matter.
When we stand shoulder to shoulder with our Black sisters and brothers, we are fighting for liberty and justice for all.
Black Lives Matter.
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 Black Lives Matter.